The following interview has been directed and edited by Ainsley Myers, and it was recorded on May 21st, 2014, in Washington, Louisiana. This is an interview told upon the perspective of Emile Dupre. He was born in 1922 and raised on a small lower-class farm with his three sisters and his parents, Alfred Dupre and Marie Regina Fontenot. In this interview, Emile explains the aspects of the Great Depression in which he personally experienced, from his education to being drafted into World War II. This is his story. What is your name? Is there any significance behind it? Mama had said you were named after your mom's brother, or was it uncle?
Yeah, the one that got killed.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that was him?
His name was Emile.
Mm-hmm.
I was just born, and he had told one of the neighbors, he said, to tell my mama not to find a name. He had a name that he wanted her to name. Mm-hmm. And she never did find out what it was, and he got killed that night. But that's why Brock named Emile after me.
Do you like that name?
Oh, yeah. So.
What comes first to mind when you picture the Great Depression?
Oh, it's how we had to struggle to make a living. There was no such thing as jobs. You had to work in the field, and the crops wasn't worth nothing. Prices had dropped on cotton, and it was very, very hard to make a living.
Yeah. How did the Great Depression affect your life?
Well, first of all, we had to wonder every day how we gonna make, how we'd be able to make the rest of the day or the month, to find something to eat, and as for jobs, there was no jobs available at all. We had to plant our own Irish potatoes and sweet potatoes and corn. We'd dig our Irish potatoes and sweet potatoes, and there was no such thing as refrigerators. We'd pile them up in a pile, and then we had to go get all dirt in a wagon and cover them up with dirt so that they'd keep a few weeks.
Really?
Then you had to, when you wanted to cook some, you had to go dig them out of that pile and cook whatever you could.
How did your family manage during that time? How did your family manage during the Great Depression?
It was very, very hard for them to manage. Like the women's they had to work in the field just like the men. Then they had to come back about 11 o'clock and cook dinner. And on weekends they had to wash their clothes in a tub with a washboard and hang that on a barbed wire fence for it to dry. So it was a very, very struggling time.
Describe your home.
We all had homes that there was no ceiling inside. It was all just boarded. You could see the outside through the cracks. And you had a chimney that you had to get some wood and try to heat it, but it was very hard to heat a home because there was no insulation at all and no screens. You had to open your doors and your windows. The windows was made out of wood, so you had to keep those windows open at night. With the mosquitoes, it was a problem.
What meals do you remember having?
Oh, our meal was in the morning was usually biscuits with syrup and milk. At night, they'd make cornbread with milk. At noon, we'd cook mostly beans and rice. On the weekend, they'd kill a chicken out of the yard, and we'd have meat on the weekend. And sometimes they'd kill a pig, but you had to smoke that pig so it would keep a few days. It was very, very hard to keep something fresh to eat.
How would you entertain yourself?
Oh, we usually like to ride horseback. We'd ride a lot, and we'd play with the calves, rope the calves. Sometimes we'd ride them to pass our time with. But mostly we'd get 2 or 3 together and ride horsebacks. And sometimes we'd go hunting with our old dog to get us a rabbit.
What games would you play?
There was very few games that we could play. We'd play you call it softball. Our mamas would wrap some rags tight, and then sew them. And if we could get 3 or 4 balls together, we'd play play softball with that headed. We'd cut 3, 4 bases. Usually we'd get a hoe and clean us a little spot for first, second, third, and home plate. So, and that was about the biggest pastime we had.
Did you have any pets?
Yeah, I remember having a dog that we'd call Banks, and I had a billy goat that I'd play with. We had some cats. We loved to play with our little cats. And that was about our pets, the only thing we could have.
How about your mules and horses, and do you have any donkeys or anything like that?
Donkeys?
Like cattle?
Yeah, I had a donkey that I'd ride, but he wouldn't stay home. He'd go through the fence and he'd go back in the woods. I had a hard time to keep him at the house.
What was his name?
I forgot how we'd call him. I think it was Jake. And it's hard to stay on a donkey. when they bend that head, you'd go over.
You had any horses?
Yeah, I had a horse. His name was Joe.
You had any cows?
Yeah.
Did you name any of them, or?
I had 4 or 5.
What were their names?
The cows? I had the mama cow, I'd call her Mabel, and the little calves with have all kind of names for them. Rusty and Blackie and Brownie. I had another cow named Rose and Kitty.
Do you remember any stories of things you did with your pets?
I remember one thing. I was very small yet, but it was a sad story. My daddy would play the accordion, and there was no such thing as clubs. Some neighbors that had a pretty big living room would offer their houses for people to invite a few people, and my daddy would play the accordion, and they'd go out and dance until about 11, 12 o'clock. And I had Mama had two teenage girls, and in those days the girls wouldn't go out without the mama. The mama would have to chaperone them, and I didn't like to go sleep nowhere else. So I'd go with my daddy, and I'd get very sleepy early listening to that music. I'd sit by him, and within an hour I would be sleeping on my chair. So some of those women would come get me. They'd put me in a bedroom, in the bed, and I'd sleep. And I remember one night my daddy was playing, and they had put me sleeping in that room. And a fight broke out outside. And the first shot that was shot, them women all, they came running in the room. They jumped in the bed. They was walking over me, and that night a young man by the name of Delain Fontenot killed 3 brothers.
What was his name?
Delain Fontenot.
Dylan or Dylan?
He was a little short guy.
Dylan?
There was 3 brothers. They were Youngs. Their family name was Young. They were Mama's cousins. And they'd pick on him because he was small. Every time they had a dance, they'd pick on him and wanted to fight, and he had to leave. He couldn't fight with him. So one day he got him a pistol. And that night, when there was a dance in the neighborhood, he told his daddy, he said, "Tonight I'm going and I'm not coming back." He says, I'm going to stay until the dance is over. And those 3 brothers started picking on him, and he killed all 3 of them. My daddy said it was a sight. In the front yard, there were three young brothers that laying dead in the front yard. But every time they had a dance, somebody would get killed or cut. It was with knives. They'd fight with knives. It was like the Wild Wild West. They'd call that certain place Bel-Air Cove.
Bel-Air Cove?
Bel-Air Cove.
Bel-Air Cove?
And they didn't like for no strangers to come and try to entertain themselves at the dance. They'd fight them off.
Did you ever get in a fight?
Nope.
You always in sleep?
No.
You always fell asleep?
Yeah. I didn't want to go sleep nowhere. My aunts or my uncle wanted me to go sleep, but I didn't want to sleep nowhere but at home. So, and I hated to go, but I'd follow my daddy.
Who are your closest friends as a child?
I had 3 first cousins that we were very, very close. You know their name?
Don't remember. What were their names?
One was Alvin, and one was Emile and Blaine.
They were all boys, or
Huh?
they were all boys, or
Yeah.
Okay.
And Alvin got killed in the World War II.
Mhm. Oh, that was Alvin.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we was very close, and the other two died. Blaine died about 6 months ago. He was a little older than me.
Mhm. And the other one? What's his name? It was the second one. You said Alvin, and you said Blaine, and there's a middle one. It was like, start with an A.
Then what?
What happened to the other cousin? You said Alvin, then you said someone, then you said
Emile.
Blaine.
Emile.
Emile? What happened to him?
E-M-M-E-L.
Oh. Huh.
Emile was the principal at Grand Prairie.
Really? When did he pass? Did he pass away, or are you still there?
Yeah, that's 2 or 3 years he died.
Oh.
But we were all the same age.
Mhm.
If they'd be living, they'd be... Blaine was 92 when he died, a little older than me.
Mhm.
Where did you go to school?
And I started school in Plaisance, then I finished in Grand Prairie.
What kind of people attended the school?
All white. There was no such thing as black then. But it was all farmers, all poor people.
Mhm.
How long were you allowed to attend school?
We finished high school in 11th grade then.
Mhm.
And there's very few people that would go to college. Very few.
Mhm.
After you finish school, you was on your own. When we catch up in the field, we could go, maybe the neighbor would have some cotton left to pick.
Mhm.
We could go pick cotton, and they would pay a 50 and 75 cents
Mhm.
for 100 pounds of cotton. And let me tell you, it takes a full day to pick 100 pounds of cotton. And you get 75 cents.
Mhm.
What do you remember learning in school?
We had to learn, it was reading, writing, and arithmetic. Now it's math, but
Mhm.
we had some science class, agriculture. They teach agriculture.
Yeah. What would you learn in that class?
Huh?
What would you learn in that class? What would you learn in that class?
In ag,
What would you learn about in agriculture?
yeah, we'd learn what kind of seed to buy for cotton seed or corn, when to plant, when to start plowing,
Mhm.
and how deep they showed everything about the farm
Mhm.
to grow a crop.
Who was your role model / idol during the Great Depression?
I'd say the few times that we'd watch a show at school, it was Roy Rogers and Bob Hope. That would, they wouldn't. It was not a talking show, but they'd make you laugh until. But they were very, very much my idol in school,
Why?
because I liked the way that they make people laugh. And Roy Rogers with his horse trigger, and it was fun to watch.
Do you remember any of their shows? Like, what was your most favorite moment in one of their shows.
Yeah. When Roy Rogers would get in trouble, they'd have an old jail they'd put him in with those boards. He was out there in the jail, and he'd have a certain whistle. When he'd whistle, his horse would come running, trigger, and he'd come by those windows. And Roy would get that rope from that horse, and he'd tie the window, and he'd tell him, "Run now," and he'd run and pull that window out, and there Roy was free. Oh, that was fun for us.
What was your first job? How old were you?
About 19.
You said my mom said you're around 13 or 14 because you started riding the wild horses.
Oh yeah, that during my teenagers, I'd ride a lot of horses. My uncles and did raise horses, and nobody would tame them for them, so they'd ask me to go ride them, and I'd ride, and they'd buck me down pretty hard sometimes, but get back on them. Had fun until they would get tame that anybody could ride them.
Did you have a favorite wild horse?
Like, which one was your favorite?
Oh, I would like those quarter horses. And they were more active than them thoroughbreds. They did buck a lot more, and I would prefer them.
Did you ever show in like a rodeo?
No.
You never did that?
What was your favorite job?
Oh, the one I retired with from the United Postal Service, a rural mail carrier, deliver mail in the country. I had a 92-mile route, but very few stops. So I'd go to work at 8, and I'd be done for 1 o'clock every day. But it was 6 days a week. There was no 5 days.
How old were you?
When I started, I started at I was 19. I was 23 or 24 years old when I started. And I retired in 1986.
Describe your father.
My father was very, very easygoing. He was straight, but not over straight. It's very seldom you'd get a whipping with him, but he gave you a good talk, and you better listen. So I had a very, very good father, I think. Very kind. My mother was a little stricter than him. Oh, she'd spank.
What did your dad look like?
He was he wasn't as tall as me. He was about 5 feet 7 inches tall, and he weighed about 170 pounds. He was a farmer most of his life until when he moved to Washington. He took a job as a carpenter's helper. So he did that until he retired, carpenter work.
What is your best memory of him? My best memory was, I guess,
was the way he treated me. He was I'd say very, very, very kind man. Never really fussed. He'd give you your job, and if you do it, he'd compliment you on it, and I like him very much for that.
Do you find yourself to be a lot like your father?
Yes.
Do you try to be like him?
Mm-hmm.
What is your favorite memory of him?
Yeah, we'd go fishing. He'd bring me fishing a lot. We'd go in the in a bayou, by the bayou. We'd spend the night sometime outside, sleeping in the woods, and fish all day the next day. He'd cook us some fish on the bayou bank, and that was very fun for me. I loved fishing, and he did too. Other than that, all we had to work so much that there was not too much leisure time. But on the weekend, we'd go to the races together. They had some horse races in the country. That I liked very much, and he did too.
Did he used to ride horses too?
Yeah. They'd use me as a jockey.
Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, oh yeah, I like that.
Did you get paid for it?
Very little. If you'd win the race, sometime you'd get maybe 30 or 40 cents.
Describe your mother.
She was like, she was tough on us. Oh, she wouldn't let us pass. But she had a very, very hard life, her too. So we had to help as much as we could. I remember we had to help her hang those clothes on the fence and go pick them up when they were dry. And so sometimes the cows was wild, and they was all over. And I remember one time she had just bought a bedspread, and boy, she was proud of that spread. Hung that on the fence, and she found out there was a cow that was chewing it. It had chewed up all the corner of her new bedspread. Oh, she was hot.
What did she look like?
She was a nice-looking woman, and she was about 5'6" tall, and never was big. About around 120, I guess. And very good cook. She was a very good cook.
Did you learn to cook from her?
So, and she had to keep that house clean.
What is your favorite memory of her?
The best memory I have is how much she helped us when we was coming up, and even after we got our first 2 or 3 years that we got married, she would help a lot, telling us how to do certain things. And your mama was young and I was young, so we had a lot to learn, but she was very good at teaching us the way of life.
Describe your parents' relationship.
Very good. They got along very, very well.
Has Louisiana changed since the Great Depression?
The oil business changed after that. Louisiana started picking up and still doing quite well, the oil business.
Oh, that brought it up?
When you were young, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Really, we didn't think nothing. When I was small, we didn't know nothing else but foreman. I guess that's what's come in my mind. I'd have to be foreman the rest of my life. But things changed after I finished school and got a job. My first job was at a feed store in Opelousas. And that started it off.
Who was your favorite president?
Eisenhower would be my second. Ronald Reagan was my idol.
He was?
Oh, I love Ronald Reagan.
What made you love him so much?
Especially when he told Gorbachev, now Gorbachev, you tear down that wall that they had between Germany.
Oh, the Berlin Wall?
Yeah.
1989?
That's what he told them. You destroy that wall. And when he talked, he meant it. I loved it.
What do you remember about World War II?
World War II, when they started drafting, they would draft 18 years old first. Then after they'd run out of the 18 years old, they'd go to 20 and 21. And then after the draft, they run out of this, they started drafting people that was married with no children. And I remember and then they'd go up to 2 children, 3 children. And I remember my brother-in-law, when his daddy, he was married and he had 3 kids when they drafted him. So he had to go. And they left very few behind there. That World War II was very, very bad. They caught us very unprepared. We had to start building ships and airplanes.
What was your reaction when your draft was disapproved?
Whenever I failed, I felt disappointed. For all of my cousin was gone. I had 3 that was already gone. And I kind of felt disappointed that I couldn't go and help them out in any kind of way that I could.
What did your dad think about you not being accepted into the...
Oh, he was happy.
He was happy?
Yeah, he didn't really like, but he hated it to see me go if I had to go to war. But
what was his reaction when you came back and you didn't have to go?
His reaction? Oh, he was happy. He knew I was there to help him in the field again.
What was your most favorite memory from during the Great Depression?
My favorite memory, I guess, was to know if things would ever get better, because it was down so low that you couldn't expect anything to get better. It was so bad during that time. But that was about the biggest worry people had.
It is said that everything happens for a reason. What reason did the Great Depression happen for?
What do you think?
I guess the biggest reason it happened is that when the Japanese thought they could take over the United States, when they attacked us with no warnings at all, just when they attacked at Pearl Harbor and killed so many of our people and destroyed all our ships that we had. They really thought that they could take the United States over. And with the help, finally had the help from Russia to finish it up. And now Russia is giving us all kind of trouble.
What advice would you give to modern day people if they were to experience another Great Depression?
The advice would be that for them to keep fighting, don't give up, don't ever give up. There's always a bright side to it. It might be hard to get there, but keep trying and do what's right. Keep out of trouble, and eventually it'll get better.
Disregard for the past will never do us any good. Without it, we cannot know truly who we are.